Hey everybody, this is Cobalt, and I guess I'm back with my one video every couple years. Lo and behold, it's Portal 2 again. Guess I just can't escape this game. But this time I've got something tangible to show for it. Not just a silly concept, but a silly published map. Welcome to... You are part of the ConTroll group. Now, for a long time, I've been following the troll level creator community, which is mostly based around Mario Maker. And their whole thing is basically making levels that are a series of pranks, designed to mess with you in a funny way. So, what does this have to do with Portal 2? Well, during spring of 2026, they held a contest to create a troll level in any game. The goal was to make something funny, and there were even judges in a prize pool. And this is my entry. As you can see from this custom sign here, the map is currently on version 4. I'll go over how it evolved as we go, but this QR code leads to the community website, and these icons down here represent the 5 main judges. Maybe you've heard of some of them. Carl Sagan 42, DGR, Juz Cook, Waffle Smacker, and Simple Flips. DGR in particular made a dedicated YouTube video for this map. If you haven't seen it, I'll put a link in the description. Anyway, this video is going to serve as a sort of breakdown. I go through the level, show off all the features, and every so often I'll cut to Hammer to show how it works in the editor. Hi, Hammer Cobalt here. I don't have any trolls to show yet, but I do want to say that I find it pretty neat how the 3 Portal 2 entries for this contest each use one of the 3 main ways to develop maps. One used the vanilla in-game editor, one used Bmod, and mine used Hammer, specifically Hammer++. Why Hammer over the other options? Well, A, I've been working with it for about a decade on and off at this point, and B, my vision for this map involved things going pretty far off the rails, so I needed full control of the map logic and geometry for that. Anyway, back to Game Cobalt. Now, this first little alcove doesn't have any trolls. I figured a lot of contest players would be novices or rusty, so I'm just going to ease them in with a little make sure you can use portals exercise. And none of the upcoming trolls are really attached to a skill check. I aimed for funny over frustrating, and based on the feedback, I think that paid off. Anyway, we got some gel. Let's bounce.
You're part of the ConTroll group, by the way. You get blue paint. All joking aside, you wrote the portal gun. Tragic, but informative.
And where do I even begin to explain what just happened? You saw goo falling here, you go to jump in it, you see it on the ground here, and then you end up in a cutscene where you just splatter on the floor, you break your portal gun, and Cave Johnson explains that you're part of the ConTroll group that got blue paint instead. A reference to an actual line from the game that I kind of spliced together. This was kind of, I believe, my second troll idea ever, and it's what I mean by we go off the rails right away. You lose your portal gun, you get laughed at by Cave Johnson, and suddenly you're thrust into a behind-the-scenes area instead. Now, the way this actually works is the goo is real. There is real bounce goo on the floor here. It's just there's an invisible floor that turns on between you and it. It's thin enough that you don't really notice, but thick enough that you don't register any collision with the gel and you can't bounce. And these slanted walls are a V4 edition. Previous versions, if you jumped like all the way to the wall, you could kind of clip into the wall during the camera cutscene. And oh boy, the camera was kind of the hardest part about it. I just kind of was experimenting with it, and I got something to work with these entities over here. The camera kind of slams down and goes forward a bit. The portal gun spawns, stuff like that. All of this stuff I experimented with over in this corner of the room, and I'm just like, you know what? It works. I'm not going to touch it again. And so I just sealed off this section of the room, and that is actually the reason why you only go to the left at the beginning. The right side is dedicated to housing all this stuff to make the camera work when you slam into the ground. But yeah, eventually you get control back, but you cannot get the portal gun back, And then the wall opens up and you can go into this sort of maintenance hallway. So yeah, you might be able to tell right here is where you leave the invisible floor. And as you go through this hallway, the panels close behind you, and you are greeted with the control room door with 2 L's. This is actually a vanilla overlay texture, but I use a bit of trickery. When you put an overlay in your map, you can control what region of the texture is covered by that. So I just have a region of the texture up to the end of the L here, and then another region of the texture that starts before the L after it, and that basically duplicates the L. Anyway, let's go in. Or not.
That's not supposed to happen. Good news is, we've got a much better test for you. Bad news is, now you might be in danger.
With another spliced line, it appears we've been diverted a second time into the Hot Garbo test course. This can't be good. 69 out of 420, this sign is dangerous for subjects who never learn a single thing. Bonk. Yeah, DGR fell for that, and I am so glad he did. Stare at that sign too long, and it just slams you. That QR code, by the way, is a Rickroll. Just FYI. And these little icons here are references to common trolls in the community. The fish that drops on your head, the thwomp, the on-off switch, all those are highlighted because they are present in the map. The Spike and Sledge Bro, aka Goop and Gorp, are not present, however. Now, if you've seen a previous version of the map, you might be wondering, there's a fish, there's an on-off, but where's the thwomp? Well, V4 finally made this accurate. The thwomp is coming, eventually. Anyway, there's some goo to cross. Let's get on this little platform here. Oh no! Ha! Oh, what's that? No! Yeah. Most people were actually pretty good at dodging those, but just have some little initial trolls to keep you on your toes. And there we go. Hey look! A new portal gun already. And it has a potato on it. What the? It sent us through a portal?
They told me
Wheatley?
never, never, ever to disengage myself from my management rail, or you would die.
Or I would die. I guess he wasn't wrong. So yeah, this troll is basically part of the multi-step portal gun chase that I've engineered into this level. You lose your portal gun, and you have a heck of a time getting it back. Because this portal gun decides to be hostile. It shoots a portal at your feet, and if you're moving forward, you fall into it. So you gotta stand still or walk backwards when it's coming. And if you fall into that, you're greeted by Wheatley, who kills you in a funny way. Basically, I had the idea of him saying the "if I ever did this thing, I would die" lines from the game, and made them "you would die." And so he does that, and you die. Hey, so post-commentary Cobalt here. I explained plenty about this room the first time around, but I don't think I explained quite enough, so let's just go through from the beginning. First, we've got just this door that lets you into the room connected to the arm animations. It's just a funk brush attached to some prop dynamics. Over here is another set of doors connected to this funnel that's part of a troll during the platform ride. And then we've got an autosave trigger. Now this is not really built into the in-game editor, so that's why you might not see a lot of autosaving on workshop maps. But I had to add them manually in Hammer, and I think the map is a bit better for it. It means you don't have to backtrack when you die, and you die a lot in troll levels generally, so it just means you can continually make progress. It's all about respecting the player's time, as a lot of judges tend to comment on as an important point of their scores. And then this here is just the trigger you have to be standing in and looking at the sign to make it fall on you. And the sign is actually just implemented as a rotating door. Doors just tend to be used that way in game engines. Nothing too special with the platform. Once you get on the far side of it, you hit another trigger, which closes this door here and starts the platform moving. Once the platform reaches a certain point, it hits this little track checkpoint here, and it will start the sequence with the light bridge and the funnel that will try and knock you off. And then we get to this interesting part. When you hit this trigger here, a target object starts tracking relative to your feet. Now, why is that? It's because we need something for the portal gun to aim at. So, quick side note here, the portal gun is constructed of a few props, the base here, the arm, but next is this thing called a funk tank. And this is an entity that's been in the source engine for a really long time. It was originally for like weapon tanks in order to be able to point at and shoot the player. But nowadays, usually the firing stuff is not used, but the aiming still is. So if you want to have an entity point at another entity, a funk tank is usually how you do it. Now, attached to the funk tank is this prop, which is the visual component of the portal gun, but inside the visual portal gun is the real portal gun, which is just a bit too small to work convincingly as the visual representation. Then attached to that is the potato prop, and also the particle emitter for the charge up animation. Now, the charge up animation is something that worked built into the portal gun itself in Portal 1, but it doesn't work in Portal 2, so I had to recreate some particles and sounds to make it clear that the portal gun was charging up. And this was a V4 edition. The earlier versions didn't really make it clear that the portal gun was about to shoot at you, and I think that might have confused a few players, so I fixed that up. Now, when everything loads, the portal gun first starts off pointed at this kind of dummy target right here, which basically makes it look like it's horizontal. But when the player crosses this point, suddenly this timer starts firing 100 times a second, which runs a bit of script code to make this little square constantly teleport 48 units east of the player's feet, but then clamped to the ground here. Why is that? Because now the portal gun starts aiming at that point, and after a second or two, it will fire a portal at that point, and that's the trap portal that leads you into the Wheatley death scene. Now, this was pretty hard to implement. I did have to resort to some script code, like I said, but I am fairly happy with how it turned out in the end. You just need to make sure that you aren't walking forwards when the portal fires. That's the main way to dodge the troll. Another detail about firing this prop portal gun, aside from simply aiming it, is that for some reason, when a prop portal gun fires onto the ground or the ceiling, the portal it places always faces east. And so I needed to make this whole section face east so that everything was consistent. And also, it needed to be this kind of narrow runway just so the player would be kind of funneled into that portal. So the geometry of this room was basically built around this portal on the floor troll, including accounting for a weird quirk of the portal gun. And that actually affected how this room was oriented. It did face a different direction initially, but I think it worked out all in the end. At this point, we hit another autosave trigger, and at this point, we hit a trigger that closes the initial portals, which is important because switching portals is a bit of a challenge. This game was not designed to go from player portals to map portals and back to player portals. In particular, if you try and switch from player portals to map portals, things get a bit funky. When you have portals in the entry room, for example, and you try and open a portal to the trap room, you'll actually just get sent right back to the entry room because that's where your last portal was. Even though you have a portal set in the trap room, it seems to get overwritten by the portals you use yourself. And so you have to do some stuff to forcibly delete all of the portals on the map and then respawn all the ones you want to use as your trap destination. And then I have to do this a second time when the portal gun does the trick you're about to see. Alright, now, let's retrieve that portal gun. It just sent itself through a portal, didn't it? We will go down there in a moment, but let's just see what's through door number 1 here. Juzz Smug. And you get flung into the pit. So, fun fact, that Juzz Smug is by far the most detailed texture I have packed into the map. I mean, most of this is just Portal 2's own textures, but I have a number of custom assets built into the map, and I believe that's the only 1024 by 1024 pixel texture. And it's got, full color with alpha and all that. And I believe it makes up like 9% of the file size. Whoopsie. Also, you might be able to tell that HDR lighting is enabled by how bright this looks. I know it's not perfect, but I just wanted to get that working in V4 when I didn't really bother compiling and tweaking for it in the previous versions. Another thing I noticed is when I enabled HDR, the signs looked really washed out when I did that. I think it's because they're an unlit texture that is close to being totally white, and so it just gets a bunch of bloom on it. So what I had to do was put a thing where if it's HDR, I add like a shading texture to it to make it grayer. So that's a funny little quirk to those little signs that only comes up when you turn on HDR. Anyway, let's follow the portal gun. Oh, and now there's a bridge.
You're on your own.
Now where are we? To turn off the bridge, we have to remove that cube from the button. Okay, let's do that. I mean, this room looks fairly straightforward, doesn't it? Fling over to the goo, grab the cube, fling back, right? Wrong. What? What? How did that happen? Allow me to introduce you to the black magic that is the world portal. This little thingy here can be given a dimension and basically can turn a rectangular space into an otherwise invisible portal to a different part of the map. And so, what I do is I make this little opening here a lie. This is a real spot, but when you're looking and moving through this spot right here, you're actually seeing and teleporting to a fake duplicate version of the map. And this whole setup with the open space and the glass makes it very subtle, because you see the real area and the fake area, and it looks completely seamless. But what you're actually seeing is this copy of the room over here. Now, it needs to look a lot like the original room simply because it needs to have the same lighting. Otherwise, the effect is just lost. And yeah, you get flung into this version of the room where there are a bunch of turrets waiting to kill you. This cube does nothing. It is technically grabbable, but good luck surviving the turrets that I've bumped up the damage on by a lot. And yeah, this is just supposed to be a death, just a, whoops, you did it wrong, with a bit of a hint as to what you're actually supposed to do. Back to the game, let's see that. But yeah, look. Real, fake. Completely seamless. unless you have really weird graphic settings, and one of the guest judge streamers did. But what are you supposed to do? Well, the sign says, cross goo. It isn't deadly, at least in this section. That's the deep end. You die there. But you can walk across this bit here. And so, you go to pick up the cube, but taking it off the button just armed 2 trolls that are going to get in the way of you making it back. Also, the world portal is gone here now. Now that you're over here. You can't get teleported anymore. But let's see. Oh well, let's just go back. Nope! The water is deep now. Oopsie. Okay, fine. There's a second way back. There's the faith plate. Surely that's safe, right? Ow.
They told me that if I ever turned this flashlight on, you would die.
I would die. Again? Ah, it burns! It burns! So yeah, that faith plate sends you through the observation room into the second Wheatley death trap. And it's always fun to see a streamer's reaction when they get hit with that, because I'm pretty sure everyone did. So what do I do then? Well, what if I sacrifice the cube? Oh hey! This is shallow again. There's also a second way across. If you let the cube get flung, now you get flung safely. So the idea is disarm the path that you're going to take by sacrificing the cube to it first. Now, the button is off, the bridge is down. Now I can get the potato gun, right? Ah! Oh, well, I can pick it up, but I didn't equip it. I wonder why. Am I stuck? Don't tell me. I worked so hard to get this, but I have to put it on the button and abandon it to leave? Oh, hello, Wheatley. What are you doing here again? No, I'm not gonna deal with you. No. Okay, I guess I have to deal with Wheatley. But what is that? A fish? So yeah, there's the fish. So yeah, the player should already distrust Wheatley by now, but let's see what he has to say.
You are not going to believe this. I found a portal gun. Just sitting there, filled with paint bits. Shook them out, good as new.
So, the idea here is, he went and got the portal gun that you'd broken at the beginning of the level.
Here's a good idea. You should definitely take it. Not defective. Don't touch anything else. Don't pick me up. That's it, yeah, no, that's it, yeah.
You know what, sure, why not? What's the worst that could happen?
Wow, good. I didn't think that was going to work.
What's the worst that could happen? Oh wait, I can only shoot one portal. I can't actually advance from this.
Oh, did it kill you? That would be amazing.
Yeah, that portal gun is booby-trapped. If you get it, you explode. As you might be able to infer by Wheatley's original dialogue, the correct answer is actually to pick him up. And if you don't get it by now, I have a hint show up.
Whoa, hey, let go!
Now, many people are just going to be angry and throw him off. And this is the one place I directly intervene and say, no, you shouldn't have done that. And that little hint there was to tell you to jump off, because you need to reset. Now, some people here might be wondering, I've used Wheatley, but nowhere in this map does he say his iconic, "This is the part where I kill you" line. And that's because it was going to be associated with a bit that got cut for time. You see, originally, if you were to bring Wheatley over this spot, it was going to fling you up into oblivion, and you were going to end up in an anti-soft lock, which, troll jargon, that is a area where your goal is to die and reset, but you are prevented from dying until you complete a rather tough task. And the idea was going to be you're holding Wheatley and can't let him go. And there's a button you can press to kill you, but you have to let Wheatley go first. You have to find a socket to deposit him into, and you have to go through a gauntlet to get to the socket. And then you finally do so, you die, you try again, and you realize that the real way forward was going to be to jump this gap, and the gate will open, and you can walk around and get into this room. But that was going to be one of the most complicated parts of the map, and I was really running out of time and just never implemented it. Whoopsie. Anyway, once you get Wheatley back to the spot,
Do not press that button!
the key is
No!
you put him on the button, and now
I can't believe you came back.
you are able to equip the portal gun. Quite a lot to cover here. Not a lot of tricks in this little troll section here. There's just, an invisible floor thing under the water that you can walk on. There are 2 faith plate catapulters overlaid on top of each other, and both, just trigger the model to do the fling animation, and one of them is enabled or disabled depending on whether you want the player flung up here or down here. This area is just a regular light bridge with an invisible wall to make sure you don't try and reach under and grab the portal gun. Actually, before I get too far along, remember the part where the portal gun fell through the portal that it made itself and ended up in here? Well, that was a bit of sleight of hand. What the portal gun really did was just phase through the floor attached to just a vertical sliding door, because a lot of game engines use doors for arbitrary moving objects. But on the other side of the portal, there's an equivalent portal gun prop that falls down through the ceiling in sync with it, so it looks like it is present on both sides of the portal. But then once you go around this corner, the dummy version that is used for the fall is replaced with this physics version that is used for when you finally reach here and you get dropped down into this room. So yeah, there are 3 copies of this portal gun on the stand thing, because they all kind of serve a different purpose in the sequence of obtaining the portal gun. And when you finally get to pick it up, you don't get to equip it because you need to put it on this button. Now, these buttons are their own entity in the game. They do just work out of the box with cubes, but to make them work with other things, I basically had to hijack it and make my own trigger and logic system to make sure that the player, the portal gun, and Wheatley could all use the button properly. And also so that only if Wheatley is in the room, it will let you equip the portal gun. Because, you can't just equip the portal gun when it's the only thing that will let you out of the room. So it requires Wheatley to be present for you to exchange him in order to let you equip it. And then in order to get Wheatley, you have to go out here. There's this whole kind of logic with the scene where he talks to you and the defective portal gun and all that. Really, this would be best served with an actual script, but I don't really know how to do that. I'm also not sure if those can get packaged into the map like other assets can, so even in V4, I don't have all of that set up. Also, fun fact, there is only one Wheatley on this map. Every instance of him you encounter is the same, because as you can see here, he spawns in the room where the first Wheatley trap occurs. And he basically gets moved along this track into place as you're falling. By the time you get down here onto the bridge, he's already waiting for you. Now, for the dark room way up here, there is a different track that he goes up, and uses to get to this room. And because it's the furthest away, he actually goes really fast until he's just about to come into view. But for when you're reaching him on the catwalks, he goes at a kind of normal speed through this intangible wall here. And if you're quick about putting the portal gun on the button and walking outside, you can see him arriving from this rail. And yeah, here's the fiche. And basically, you just go down here, you see the no, and then when you're coming back up, the fish starts moving, and it's got a kill trigger attached to it. And it moves fast enough that you can't like get out of the way before it gets to you. I mean, maybe you can if you use some speedrunning tricks, but I don't expect someone who knows that sort of stuff to play this map, at least for the sake of the contest. I'm sure there's some cheese to be had in this level. Anyway, catwalks. They are kind of awkward to deal with because there are only so many shapes of catwalk, but I think I made it work decently well. I really should have made this room bigger because you can kind of tell in the game that like the fog has a certain shape to it that you can kind of tell the room's shape from, but again, I just didn't really have a lot of time to put in that level of refinement. Yeah, you abandon Wheatley. GLaDOS Potato laughs. And by the way, the potato talking is a V4 edition. Did not happen in the previous ones. Wheatley has always talked. It was kind of important, but GLaDOS only talks now. Alright. Let's see what's next. Now, I will admit, this is the point where I really started running out of time, so the troll density drops off a lot at this point. But this just looks like a simple fling, right? Surely, if this sends you up, you can just portal over. Oh, Mario Maker baby sound, and turns out you are just short. So, fun fact about that, by the way, Portal has these fling mechanisms throughout itself where if you are going a certain speed, it will adjust that speed to an exact value, and so that way when you're doing certain flings, you're guaranteed to be able to make it. If you're close enough to the speed, it will make sure you are at the exact speed, and it just makes a lot of the flings feel a lot nicer. But you could use that against the player and make it so that if they are flinging through a panel like this, when they come out, they will always be given the wrong speed. In this case, they are just short. They are always given a trajectory that allow them to just kind of hit their knees on this on the platform here and plummet into the water. And also, I put custom asset SMM2 baby noise just to kind of add the insult to injury, since that tends to be the nope, you can't actually do that noise. Fun fact, by the way, this fling entity is actually the same entity as the faith plates. It's all just a trigger catapult. This faith plate right here is just a trigger catapult aimed at this marker, just like this is a trigger catapult aimed at this marker. And the difference here is this does not have a speed requirement. For this one, you have to be going at a fling-ish speed. At this one, you can touch it at any speed, and it will launch you up. And it will, in this particular case, also cause the fling animation and sound to play. And if you've been paying attention, you might be able to figure out the actual solution to this little section. Instead of putting your portal here, you can put your portal under this slightly different colored section of wall, and when you fling, that section launches you like a faith plate. Okay, let's see. You are instructed to go up here next. Easy enough. Spike. Spike! Now, this is one of the inside jokes of the troll community. just have spike over, just have the word spike over a pit that it is clearly telling you you should go down. But we don't have to go down it, do we? Also, hey look, it's Science Yoshi. He's watching over this test. Anyway, if you've played Portal 2, this is a pretty simple laser puzzle. You just gotta get these cubes, and... oh no!
This is not good.
Huh? Oh no, spikes! Let me get to the other side. Baby noise. My portals! No! No, what am I doing? Into the fire? No! No! Now, once again, we've got a lot to unpack. The laser puzzle is legit, but this section of the floor here, the safest looking section of the floor, because it's furthest from the pit, is actually a hidden fling trigger sort of pseudo faith plate. And so if you walk here, you will get flung straight into this spot. And in fact, just in case you have some momentum that might make you slide along the wall and land here, I put a little lip here to make sure you collide against that and fall in anyway. And so halfway down, GLaDOS says this is not good when you hit this trigger. And then when you get to the bottom here, this will slide you into this room, which I hope some of you guys got the reference to it. Some of the people in DGR's comment section did. This room is a reference to the Portal 1 teaser trailer. And it basically has GLaDOS narrating as the player character is put in a room where they gotta cross a fire pit with these spikes coming down. And the solution is just place a portal on the other side, place a portal on this side, and walk through to escape the spikes of death. But with a trolley twist, I make it so that this entire area is blocked off. You can't actually step in here because there's collision. And whenever you try to go through a portal leading to that, you get the baby noise again. And down here, we got, because this is Hammer++, you can preview the particles. We got all the fire here. And V4 edition, a little kind of dirt displacement here, because it looks better than just having this orange floor that was here in versions 1, 2, and 3. So yeah, this is just a death troll, but one where I really hope you get the reference. because people have found it really funny when they did. So I'm happy that it was recognized. Anyway, let's finish this chamber the right way. Easy enough. Now this room. Alright, simple enough. Let's lather up the floor like this. And get ready to fling. What? Water? There's a water dispenser up here. And this is not a kill you troll. This is just a, no, do it again. Anyway, fling. Caught by an underground, underwater funnel here, and you gotta escape onto this light bridge quickly enough. Most people can do that. Unfortunately, at this point, I was really kind of running out of time, and this room was originally intended as like a teaser trailer room, just to demonstrate some trolls rather than make them playable trolls, and I think it's not really the most fun. At this point in the level, like I said, the troll density goes down. The trolls are a little bit less funny and a little bit less dangerous, but a lot of people didn't seem to mind, and I think it's just because, you know, as time goes on, you kind of don't want to continue dealing with really hard level elements, so maybe it just kind of worked out. I wonder if you were expecting that. I sort of wasn't. I forgot how close that trigger was. But yeah, there's another sort of pseudo-faith plate down here. yeah, it just flings you up into this area, and you just kind of get the perfectly timed wall open, and you're just deposited on this ground here. Now, you can self-troll yourself, and DGR did, if you try and just go back down there. Because as it turns out, none of those things down there do anything. They're all just props. And that door goes nowhere, and that fling faceplate thing just kind of stays up. You can't use it again, so you just have to jump in the goo and reset. So, yeah, don't go back. Just trust. This one is just a trust the level and go forwards thing. And now we go into the simple flips room. So this is just kind of meant to be a big old reference to simple flips with some of his sayings, let's say. We got I'm normal. We got Ethan, please wake up. We got it's look who it is. We got Bup. We got odd, even, schmeven. And we got the burger that's always been there in the walkies thumbnails. And every version of the map, I have added like 1 or 2 more Simple Flips references to this room. So if you played V1, V2, V3, there weren't as many of these. Anyway, the lore here is that this was just supposed to be a vent shaft that got taken out, and this is just like some office of some sort. And in here you gotta just press the hatch override button, which, if you go back here, lets you go this way. And do you remember? This is the maintenance hallway from the very beginning of the level. And it really is. This is not a twice. This actually just looped you back to the original place. Anyway, let's go down here.
I'm sure we'll be fine.
And I mean literally down, because you gotta fall 500 feet in order to get to the real control room. There's no way around it. Let's take the plunge. Not a whole lot to cover hammer-wise for this section, just because there isn't a whole lot of trickery going on. I mean, there's a funnel under the water here. There's some triggers to turn on and off some things. There's area portals between these areas. If you're a mapper, you know. Triggers to turn on, traps, buttons that do nothing. And of course, the kind of escape arm thing that's flush with the wall that you don't know is there until you're launched right through it. In here we got simple flips, just some V4 additions where you can't place portals on certain parts of these walls where there's a lot of complex geometry, or the metal door. You could previously put a portal under the clock here. Just kind of cleaned it up so you can't do things that look wrong in the level here. But yeah, this really is the maintenance hallway. If you go through here, it's the gel trap again, it's the beginning room, and yeah, there really is a fall, and it really is 500 feet. I sort of measured it out based on the size of what a hammer unit is compared to a real world foot, and you do just fall that distance. This is a sign from the beginning of the game where it says there's a docking station 500 feet below, and Wheatley is just impatient and confused and tries to dock with the wall sign instead of actually going to the docking station that's below. The reason why I had the player do that is because there is stuff in the way. If you were just to go straight, you'd run into the exit elevator. If you go up, there's the path to the exit elevator. So the only place to go is down. I could have used another world portal here, but I kind of have committed to only using them for trickery. So I just thought, you know what? Fine. I'll just make the player fall. Anyway, surely Game Cobalt has reached the bottom by now, right? Oof. Where am I? Troll magic shutdown. And a suspicious press it and you die area. Huh. Well, there doesn't seem to be a way to open this door. Unless there's something in here. Insert disc. I ran out of time to put a troll here, sorry. And this was not a complete lie by past me. I was really strapped for time at the end of this map, and as I was kind of rushing to put together a sort of finale, I knew I wanted to put a disc sort of mini puzzle in here, but I just didn't have time to make a troll out of it at first. The original idea was you get this disc, and you have to bring it through a small maze of DVD readers or whatever these are that will try and snatch the disc from you before you bring it to the real disc reader. But in the end, I just didn't have time to do that. Something had to go, and this was it. And so all you really gotta do is grab the disc and put it in the reader. And if you look through the window here and on the slideshow here, that goes away and that door opens up. Cool. Or is it? Because as it turns out, the window is a lie. Because when you put the disc in this actually fake reader, it instead opens a door in a fake version of this room and shows it opening through another world portal that just kind of takes the place of this window here. And actually, when you were going to grab the disc, this real DVD reader secretly spawned in, but the world portal hides its existence, and so you only know to put it in the fake one. But now the disc is taken up, you can't get it back, you can't open the door, and so you have to use the Crusher of Shame. So, fun fact, if anyone here played version 1, this So I Put It Here Instead DVD player here did not exist. The troll did not exist. This I ran out of time thing was complete truth, and this was just the real DVD reader. It was version 2 where I added this little troll here, as well as, on this side here, the fake version of the room with, you know, a pretty convincing set of lighting and props, just so you are none the wiser when you actually observe the fake door opening. But, yeah, version 1 just had no more trolls at this point. The reset was pointless. I don't think there was a way to die here. Though versions 2 and 3 did have a bit of an issue with the world portal here. If you were carrying the disc and kind of brushed it against this wall, it could kind of clip into the world portal and could get stuck in the fake version of the room. Because there's no way to make a world portal that's purely visual. You have to, it always has collision, so sometimes you can just lose the disc that way. I mean, luckily you still have the reset, so it's not a soft lock. You can still die. But yeah, that was unintentional. So I made the window a little bit smaller and further away from the door opening in version 4 to kind of prevent that. Also in version 4, I added a bunch of props here to make this look more like used, because it was a very barren room up to that point. I put some computers here, a whiteboard, some chairs, just kind of made it look like a meeting or planning room. Also, because DGR commented on this stain on the desk here, I put a little coffee mug here to kind of indicate where that might have come from. Because DGR played V3, so I was able to use a little bit of his experience as feedback for V4. Anyway, let's do the real thing here. So yeah, it's still a fake out here, but if you put the disc in here, you do it right. I believe the thing still kind of plays. Yeah, but this time the real door opens to reveal the on-off switch.
Press the button.
So the idea for this is just to be a sort of containment room this is the room where they keep the dangerous thing, and it is kept like in stasis between all of this equipment here. And it is our job to flip it. Now, in previous versions, you just press the button and the on-off switches immediately. But again, part of that was just due to time constraints, which prevented me from doing the version I really wanted to do. But V4, I put in the actual sequence that I had intended all along. So watch this. Thwomp!
ConTroll
Also,
is now non-functional. Emergency evacuation initiated.
And you just get flung into the void, and suddenly you're back at the beginning? But yeah, if you didn't hear the announcer guide, that was another spliced line I did. All troll magic is now non-functional. Emergency evacuation initiated. And so the whole thing with that was you go and turn off the troll magic that has been causing all of these shenanigans here. Now, the involvement of troll magic in this section was not really evident in the earlier versions of this map. Previously, it just said shutdown because it's kind of hard to splice the word troll magic out of existing textures. I finally managed it in V4, but it's still a little bit janky, especially in the editor. The whole idea is troll magic is what's been kind of plaguing you for the whole game, and you finally get a chance to turn it off. And you get in here, this is troll magic on, you press the button, the thing opens up here, a thwomp comes down, hits the on-off, it says ONT, aka off, and it turns off the troll magic. And as the magic collapses, you basically just get ejected from the room, and on top of the door, there is another world portal. And so when you press the button, it turns off the fake world portal for the window here, and then turns on the one that makes it so that when you're flung out, instead of going back into this area, you are sent way, way up here into this little funnel structure above the starting room. And this is the real starting room. Again, not a twice. And so everything's kind of normal again. You know, it's mostly how you left it, right? Except, is this pit shallower? Hey, look! You can actually bounce now! This gel was real all along. It's just, it landed on a movable floor that has now been moved up. And of course, it doesn't trigger the whole cutscene where you lose the portal gun this time. That only happens once. And now, you bounce into the THX.
I like your style. You make up your own rules, just like me.
Goodbye, sir.
Just put a THX as another inside joke to the troll community. And this really is the end. Like I said, not much troll density because I was running out of time near the end, but people seem to be mostly fine with that. And then you go into the elevator and it ends the level like most workshop maps do. Not too much to cover on the wrap-up here. Like I said, there's this part just kind of raises with another sliding door. The gel is real, and now it's not covered by an invisible wall anymore, so you can just jump on it. This door opens when you arrive on this trigger after being flung from the on-off block room. And when you're in this room, you just get Cave Johnson saying, "I like your style," and GLaDOS saying goodbye. Not too much trickery beyond this point. This is just the regular exit elevator. Although, astute Portal Workshop players might notice that I don't use the default downwards going elevators. I use a set of upwards going elevators just to kind of mix things up. No particular reason. Also, Even though this is, a fully custom hammer map, it is compatible with the perpetual testing initiative because it has two important entities. One is a logic relay that triggers the vote, and the other is this kind of vote path track that just kind of serves as the key, where if you call vote on a path track, it's just kind of recognized as a valid perpetual testing initiative workshop map. Also, just a bit of quality of life, if you load this map up outside of the PTI, sometimes a map, if it doesn't have a transition configured, will just have this funny text overlay saying end of playtest and just leave you trapped in the elevator forever. This map actually gets rid of that by deleting the text thing and also triggering a game end once you're in the elevator for a few seconds. So that's just want to make it so that however you load this map up, you will get a good experience. So one more fun fact. Remember how I mentioned that the floor raised up when you return here after turning off the troll magic? That didn't happen in version 1 and version 2. One of the important things in V3 was to actually do that, because like I kind of said before, the map is not meant to have skill checks, and this was kind of the one remaining skill check, and it was at a really awkward point. If you didn't make the jump here at the end, and the goo was at its full depth, you would bounce, but if you landed wrong and were stuck in the pit, you couldn't easily jump back out. You could kind of with the right skill jumps, but a lot of players would probably consider that to be a soft lock, and it's right at the end, and that was a mistake on my part. That was fixed in V3. Luckily, none of the streamers had to deal with that version. So, yeah, good thing I am able to update this on the fly, because that's not the experience I wanted to give the majority of the players. And yeah, that's kind of the whole thing. Not sure what to cover next, except to just kind of summarize it. If you look at it from afar, it looks kind of like a complicated mess. Also with, a awkward mix of no-draw, dev textures, and just the texture that was on the inside of the wall on the outside. Just kind of slapped this whole thing together. You can kind of tell from what it looks like on the outside. Just pull back the curtain a little. But, yeah, this was a fun project, even if it took me a couple full weekends to make it a real thing. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this. It is fully playable on the Steam Workshop. You can just subscribe to it, and if you are signed into Steam, it will be linked to your account. Next time you open up Portal 2, it will be available in the single-player community chambers menu, and you should just be able to play it. All of the assets are packed in. It is about 45 megabytes. Shouldn't be too big of a download, but like I said, a lot of that was just the Juzz Smug, but a lot of that was also some of the custom audio. One thing in particular is, I have 15 seconds of the Vortal Combat music that plays during the Portal 1 trailer sequence. So that takes up a bit of space. But yeah, this was a fun project, and I might do more in the future. Who knows? I'm just trying to think if there's anything I haven't really covered. Oh, right, there's the contest. How'd I do? My goal was just to get into the top 10. The prize pool was top 5, but I figured I don't have the skills, and this isn't going to be one of the most popular games, so I'm not aiming for that. Top 10 would be a win for me, and, well, the contest ended at the end of May, and it kind of went through June and July for the judging period. And let's see what the top 10 look like. I got 7th place. 8.9 out of 10 rating, and this is a pretty crowded field between number 5 and 15. So I can't complain. Thank you so much to everyone who played and judged my map, everyone who gave some feedback, some play testing. This was a fun time, and I'm looking forward to doing this again if the opportunity arises. But yeah, I think that's going to be it for me. Thank you for watching, and I will see all you guys later.